Hello, it's Low Wolf, Wolf Territory Grid. Apparently, my accent makes Luna I feel well. Yes, I do. I'm good, thanks. Just making a video. Burr, 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 indeed. So, I'm just excuse me. I've been a bit ill in real life. I'm perfectly fine in here. I've got fur. I stay warm. Anyway, so the reason for this video. So somebody said that my accent makes her chuckle. So Luna, Stormfeather, I'm going to make you chuckle yet again with this video. And this video today is about assets because every grid. So basically, let me tell you about grid. So there's for those of you who are new to OS Grid to OpenSim, all right. Maybe you're a Second Life user, so the Second Life have one sort of asset store, and that's it. And there's one set of because there's only one. It's one grid, and you can't really go anywhere from it. You can only put your stuff in Second Life. OpenSim is different because it's open source software. Well, the kind of underlying software is, and then people like me and my team put stuff on it to make it work and scalable. So we scaled it out to some huge, ridiculous size. So everything you see here, all these things, this chair. So if I grab that chair, I can just move it around, and I can sit on it or whatever. But every chair, and you can see there's all kinds of options with the chair, like its size. So it's got a name. I can stretch it out. I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller. It's Control Z though, so it doesn't say that side. And everything on these grids. Every single thing is an asset. Okay, so let's look at some. So, like with those plants, the chairs, that's this path here. And if I make a new thing, because you can do that here, so you'll see that it's a new object, and I can do things like I can turn it into a cylinder, a sphere. Spheres are always more fun. I can stretch it out and do stuff with it. I can write a script to go in it, so I could put a little message above it. Or I'll tell you what. For instance, I can say set text. Look at me coding in front of you. This is a ball, and some little test 1.0, 1.0, 1.0, which is the colour, and then the height of the text above the. I always put it a metre above the object. And it's saved like that, and this is all incredible fun. And you'll see that it says this is a ball above the object, and that moves around with the object. I can do stuff like changing the texture and sounds. Don't get bored. Bear with me if you're an OpenSim user and this is starting to get pretty boring. And let's make it right shiny. There you go, right shiny. And you'll notice it's using PBR shininess rather than standard shininess, which is really good. So if I change the colour to like green or red, it kind of reflects the stuff around it, which is kind of cool. And as I move it, it should change the reflection. Anyway, that's kind of aside. So this ball is now an object that I've just made with different properties and things like that. And if I go into edit and I go to here, and you can see there's all kinds of information about it. And one of the things that this object has is an ID. Now, I'm going to do some boring technical stuff now. So turn yourself around so we can see you. There we go, Lone. Thank you very much. So, zooming out. Zooming in. Right, so that ball there, okay, looks like a very pretty ball, but in real data, okay, it's stored. So if you've got a tiny grid, you're probably going to store the data for that ball in the database. But because we've got an enormous grid, which massive grids, we store just the data about the ball in the database, and the actual object data. So, for instance, a piece of mesh or anything like that is stored in what's called object storage. Now, some grids that just use standard disks or standard servers or store in the local drive or whatever. We use two massive object storage things in the cloud, and they are basically synced with each other. So if one of them fails, we've got the other one pretty much synced up to it. So that asset data about this ball, okay, has an ID, which I've just done copy keys, and I think that's what I need. So if I'm going to get Notepad up, this is Linux, so it's not. Don't be surprised if it doesn't look. That there is the key to that ball, and that ball is unique. Okay, now what will happen is if I make another ball, I'll just make a quick copy of this ball. I'm just going to rename it ball, pink ball, and I'll make a copy of it. Okay, I've now got two of them, and then I could change this one to a different colour, so blue. And what you'll find is that this one has now got a different ID. So if I do copy keys, this has got an ID. Now this is all really important. I know it looks really incredibly boring. So, notepad again. Where's it gone? I'll just put it in here. I'm using Linux Mint, by the way, as an operating system rather than Windows, because I just love Linux. This is a different key, okay, to the original key. Or is it? So let me just move that out of the way for a second. I'm just going to do this one, edit, copy keys. Okay, and I'll paste it underneath. Now you see that they're completely different numbers, and the odds of getting exactly the same number are teeny weeny. Now, here's something further interesting. So about asset stores is that sometimes things go wrong. So for instance, when we first started about 3 years ago, we were using our own Minio object storage. Look over here, Lone. Wait. Oh, he never looks in the direction he's supposed to. There. Okay, I'll tell you what, we're going to put the ball up in the air. So we had our own Minio object storage running on our cluster, and we were kind of learning at that stage. We're not learning well, we are learning. Everyone's always learning. We're kind of learning, and we were kind of learning at that time. And just look at the camera. Anyway, we were kind of learning, and there was this command that I ran one morning, very early, that I thought did one thing and it did something else and started removing assets. But luckily I stopped it, but we did lose a few assets. But we didn't lose the assets out of the database. So there was still the data saying the asset was there, but the actual data that made up the ball was gone. And we lost a few bits of that. And over the years, obviously, as people have brought things in, as we've done various tricks and things to fix it, that data's got less and less and less. And in fact, we've got a new way of doing it where we've actually we can actually pretty much restore this object data out of thin air by doing all kinds of clever tricks. So the interesting thing to know is that if you take that ball and go to a different grid, okay, if I took it to Aviworlds or OS Grid or anywhere and dropped it, that ball would have the same ID on their grid because it's now been transferred to their grid as it has on our grid, which is interesting because that technically means that if you so the same thing happens if you load an IAR file or an OAR file. Okay, if it loads an asset with an ID it's already got, it doesn't bother actually putting it into the database or putting it into the asset store because it goes, well, I've already got that. So in effect, we could actually have, and here's a kind of thought, we could actually have one central asset store for all the grids. Okay, that could be done. And in fact, it would just mean a matter of copying the actual assets out to the asset store, and then they could keep their data in the databases still and just point it to this big asset store. So that could actually happen. And it does mean we're able to do all kinds of other things. So that's assets, which is very interesting. Here's some other interesting stuff. One of our users this morning, or was it yesterday morning? Yesterday morning, sent a message real early in the morning saying, can you make it snow on all my regions? And I replied, I'm not Jesus. But actually that's a really good thing to think about for the future is, at the moment we can do things. I'll show you what we can do with the environment. So we can go into R, which brings up the region environment. And I go to region, and I can go into terrain. I can set all kinds of terrain things, and environment, and I could customize the day cycle. And so on this region, the day looks like this as it goes through the day. So it's got a nice pink pink sky, and various other things like that. Now, what you can do as well is save those settings. So I use inventory. I've got some really beautiful setups that, let's see, Lunar Lunaria donated Lunar Atlantis. Let's use that. So I'm going to go OK like that, and you'll see that it should, there we go, it's all changing now, and you'll see that, you see how it changed. So Lunar Lunaria designed this beautiful scenery, this beautiful environment. So the next stage for these environments is excuse me, is to make it snow, or do other things with it. So that's a thought for the future, is maybe we could build a something. I'm just going to drop that down there a bit for a second. So maybe we could build something that allows you to say, I want it raining or I want it snowing. Now here's the problem, all right? So with snow, let me go grab some snow. Here's some I prepared earlier. So this one, is it that one? Yeah, this will do for now. I don't know where this came from. Right, so here's some snow. I'm suddenly snowing. And this is all well and groovy, and this works really pretty well, and you can kind of move it around. But the problem is, and I'll show you what. Now I can mess around with it. Right, go into the manor. This is Wolf Manor, by the way. It's Wolf Manor region if you want to go and come on grid and try it out and come into it. Let's go in here. Now, if you go in here, it's still snowing in here, so you have to be a bit careful about where you put the snow because it doesn't know. It's not aware of the fact that it's actually supposed to kind of land on the roof. And all it's doing instead is going everywhere. You can see all these weird lines. That's because it's what's called a mesh, and a mesh is something that can be designed in Blender or one of these other 3D design programs. I've got another video which will show how you can use AI to develop 3D stuff. I'm going to dare go into Wolf Mountain because we've just done a new thing at Wolf Mountain. Where is he? That's it, lone. I'm actually operating in backwards, which is a bit strange. Somewhere here. Okay, so we built a wolf den, and this was actually done with AI. And I have got it's mesh something or other. So this, I wanted to build something a bit different. So he built this rather flash AI den that we've got sitting at our welcome now, and that works pretty well. You can see the little PBR textures. Let's move that over there, and just down a bit like this. The PBR textures. Talk amongst yourselves. There you go. So that just shows you what you can do with a bit of AI mesh. So that the whole thing is, what if we could control weather on our regions, and we could say we want it to snow. So we go into a setting and we go snow, and it snows, and somehow the snow doesn't go. So if it snowed here, for instance, it wouldn't snow under the bits which are under shelter. So that we'd have to have some way of it knowing. It's doable. It is doable, but I don't know how, whether people would do it. How we'd quite implement it. Probably with particles somehow, I guess. I've been working with particles on snow for a while. I'm going to disappear somewhere else because if I stay here for any longer, people will come start talking to me, which means that I can't finish the video, which is quite annoying. Now where are you, Lone? Good. Yeah, this is one of my houses. I'm in a chair. Okay. Sort you out. So yeah. So if you've never tried Wolf Territories Grid or Virtual Worlds or anything like that, come along to www.wolf-grid.com if you need web applications or something like this built, or AI or anything like that. My company, Wolf Software Systems Limited, wolfsoftwaresystems.co.uk. Get in touch. We've got a whole team of people, some amazing UI designer, amazing tech people with our clusters. In fact, that's another bit of news that I need to let out for grid users. Tomorrow we are migrating our databases from our current cluster in Frankfurt to 3 nodes in a new cluster that's distributed over a number of different servers to areas to deal more with redundancy, to make it a bit more redundant. There will be no downtime. It'll all be done live, okay? Because we can do that because we use something called MariaDB MaxScale. The MaxScale services are all set up and ready to roll. So once we've migrated it across, then we'll switch it over, but you won't notice any difference because they're like live copies of each other. Isn't that cool? So I've got a feeling that's all I wanted to say today. That's a lot of stuff. Have a lovely day. If you're on my grid and you've got some broken assets because of 3 years, because when you try to bring them across they didn't get here, please get in touch. We can run some of our magic software that will probably fix them. Doesn't work. It works 99.999% of the time. It can manage to restore the data file behind there. So that was what I was doing yesterday. Anyway, have a lovely day. www.wolf-grid.com. Maybe I should actually bring that up. Hang on a second. This is our website. I'm just going to get it up first. Zoom it up here. Okay, this is our website, wolf-grid.com. And if you go here, there's lots of options, and so there's a new thing. I've changed all this to make it a bit clearer. So you can get a viewer, join the grid, and add Wolf Territories to the viewer. It'll talk you through all those sort of things. If you'd like to have your own land on Wolf Territories grid, and what that basically means is you can create, so you can actually get some land from someone else, rent it if you want to, or you can get it direct from the grid, and you can just go and buy your own region. And there's lots of different options. It's pretty straightforward. You choose how much you want to pay, and I think the cheapest would be just about £10 sterling, 11.70 or 12.70. We're a British company, as you can hear by my accent. Proper London, mate. So there's lots of different options there. We do massive regions, small regions. Come along and buy a region because it helps the grid. And we've got lots of really exciting things going on. See our events and everything like that. And we've got a really exciting future, especially with the new things and new people coming on board. We do have a very, very, very good technical team. One of them is based in the data centre, and there's basically two other techs apart from me, and 3 other techs apart from me. But one of them's more into the UI design and looking after things like that, which was what we're all working on. So there's a lot to see. www.wolf-grid.com. Have a really lovely day, and don't get too cold because it's quite cold today. Thank you, bye.